Hi, this is Gideon Strauss again. This is Vocational Wayfinding, winter of 2017. This is a course for the Institute for Christian Studies. And in this particular short video, what I want to do is to work through the study guide for the first 6-week module that makes up the first half of this course. Some of you might be joining this course only for these 6 weeks, and some of you may continue on to do the second 6-week module. Some of you are taking the course for personal enrichment, and some of you are doing the course for certification or degree purposes. And for those of you who are doing the work for credit, there'll be some additional work that I'll explain in other places during the course. But anyway, you should be able to reference the guide, the study guide for these 6 weeks in our Google Classroom. It is a document that's tagged there in a separate announcement, and I'm basically going to just sort of read through the study guide and say a little bit about what is in there, just to make sure that for those of us who are not necessarily only wanting to see the assignments for this course in the written format, and to give you a bit of a face to the work that has to be done. So I should comment a little before we work through the study guide about the kind of workshopy character of this module. You will notice that in the study guide I emphasize specific little projects, little assignments that have you get to know some of the tools, specifically in the first 4 weeks, some of the tools that I have found incredibly helpful out of the first of the books that we are reading, which is Bill Burnett and David Evans's Designing Your Life. So yeah, this really is a module within this course that has a very strong workshop character. You are going to be working with tools, you're going to be working on your own life planning, learning the kind of tools that I think set us up for a lifetime of navigating our vocations. And this is of course in vocational wayfinding. So learning those skills, I think, is the primary thing that we want to get done. So yeah, just that comment to say that there really is a kind of a workshopy character to what we're trying to do in this particular module. I have been teaching this kind of stuff, vocational wayfinding, life planning, making sense of the connections between our everyday work and our deepest commitments, our deepest loves, the things that matter most to us, for somewhere between 15 and 20 years, professionally speaking. And I've been asking these questions: how do we navigate our lives? How do we make sense of our lives? How do we figure out what we're supposed to be doing with our lives, and specifically in our working lives for the whole of my life? I'm 50 years old now and I've been asking these questions since my childhood. And in all of that time, the most practically useful book that I have found so far has been Bill Burnett and Dave Evans's book, Designing Your Life. If as we work through this book, you come to the conviction that some other resource that you have used anytime in your lives is actually more practically useful, please tell me. I'm always hunting for the best material, and whether it's ancient or brand new, I'd be completely intrigued to learn from you if you know of other materials that we can use in this kind of setting or around these kinds of questions. So, Designing Your Life, just to remind you again, I think I've remarked on this before, emerges out of about 15 years in which Bill Burnett and Dave Evans have taught a class variously called Now Design Your Life, Design Your Life, Designing Your Life, titles like that, at Stanford University's School of Design. And so many of the approaches that you will find in the tools that they teach in this book come out of the broader world of design thinking in which Bill and Dave are immersed. Dave Evans is a dear friend. We've been talking about this particular course and these general questions since 2008, by which time they had been quite some way into teaching this particular course, and they reiterate the course year after year after year. But they have been finding in recent years that they make fewer and fewer and fewer changes to the general structure of the course year after year, and their sense is that they're really have come to a place where they're comfortable enough that this is a basic tool set that they want to give people who are trying to do vocational wayfinding, so much so that they were willing to kind of document it in this particular book. So we start with this, and especially in the first 4 weeks, we work through the book, but we focus on particular exercises and tools that they teach in this book. We will, in week 5 and 6, turn our attention to Jamie Smith's You Are What You Love. This is a kind of a great distillation, really, of what Jamie, as a philosopher, he teaches at Calvin College, has discovered to be some of the most significant insights into how we become who we are, the profound significance of the things that we love and how they draw us in a certain direction, but also the practices, as he likes to call it, the liturgies of everyday life, repeated practices that shape us in the direction of the things that we really care about. And what we will do in week 5 and 6 of this course is kind of critically bring these two books in juxtaposition. We will have read through Designing Your Life and done a bunch of the exercises in it. And then as we read You Are What You Love, we will question Designing Your Love in terms of what we learn in You Are What You Love. Okay, so bringing my attention to the actual text of the study guide. I have it in front of me here on my laptop. You can probably see it reflected in my glasses. Just to reiterate what it says there, this is a study guide for the first 6-week module for vocational wayfinding. We started on this in the week of January 9, but people will be joining us all the way through until at least the 3rd week of the course, catch up with the work. I think that this is a flexible enough module for people to really catch up as we go along. I should point out that this study guide is for all the students in the course, so whether you're taking this for credit or you are just tapping in for self-enrichment or whatever your reasons are for being in this course and for watching this video, what is in this study guide is for you to do. So the required readings, the exercises, participating in the online forum and workshopping, please do all of this. I'm persuaded that you need to do whatever is in this study guide to get the real benefit out of participating in this workshop and this module. I should mention that there's considerable flexibility around deadlines. It would be awesome if you can meet the stated deadlines that you will find in the assignments in the Google Classroom. But if you fall a little behind and you have to catch up, or if you want to work a little bit ahead, I'll try and post the assignments at least 1 week in advance. That'll be okay. Don't freak out about it, but try and get all of the work done roughly on time, because that allows us to have a bit of a discussion with one another and to workshop the materials with one another and engage one another as we go along. If you fall too much out of sync with the other people in this particular module, then I don't think you're going to get the best benefit out of doing this work. So if you are taking the course for credit, there will be some additional assignments, and I will mark those in the Google Classroom to say this is not a required assignment if you're not taking the course for credit, but it is if you are taking the course for credit. In this particular module, it's not a lot of additional work. It's primarily a handful of very small additional readings. In the second module, there will be significant additional work for people who are taking the course for credit. There will be a whole additional book to read. And towards the end of the term, there will be also quite significant additional writing assignments for people who are taking the course for credit. But I will get back to all of that when we get to the second module, roughly the 6th or 7th week of this term. Yeah, just to say again, I will be posting all of the assignments that you find in this study guide in the Google Classroom, and that's where I ask you to please actually do the work. So don't send me email with your assignments, post them in the comments to the assignments or as otherwise indicated in the Google Classroom. I'm going to make every effort to post those assignments at least 1 week in advance, maybe sometimes 2 weeks in advance. So if you're sort of steaming ahead, you will have the ability to sort of just go forward and get work done in that setting. Required reading, I've mentioned the 2 books that we're going to be doing, Bill Burnett and Dave Evans's book, Designing Your Life, Jamie Smith's book, You Are What You Love. Please ask me any questions that you have in the comments to the place where I'll be posting this particular video in the Google Classroom. Okay, so week 1 and 2, you are required to read Burnett and Evans, Designing Your Life, the introduction, chapters 1 and 2, over the course of these first 2 weeks. And then we've got sort of 2 big assignments. The first assignment is a dashboard assignment, or a health, work, play, love dashboard assignment. This is an assignment in which you are going to basically ask yourself, so how am I doing? Where am I at in terms of these big areas of my life, my health, my work, my play, my life? You are not going to be required to share the assignment in the Google Classroom, but this is a great opportunity for you to just reflect on where you are, to sort of gauge the various areas of your life. And it might be a very good idea for you to sit down with a friend once you've done the dashboard assignment and just talk through that with a friend, someone who actually knows you well enough to sort of call you on it when your self-assessment is just way out of whack with the actual reality of your life. I will ask you in the Google Classroom to comment on how helpful you have found this particular exercise, and just sort of reflect on what doing the exercise itself did for you. That doesn't need to be an extended reflection, but it's going to be helpful for you to do it. Second big assignment for these first 2 weeks is to create what Evans and Burnett calls a compass. And this is kind of reflecting on the things that really matter to you, that you really care about, that you believe most deeply, and then to write out a kind of a work view and a life view. What is the meaning of work for you? What is the purpose of life for you? Very briefly, 250 words each. And this will become kind of a point of reference for everything else that you're going to be workshopping in this particular module of this course. One of the big questions that you're going to ask yourself when you've drafted this work view, and notice I say work view, not world view, work view and life view. Read Evans and Burnett to see what they mean with those terms. But then you're going to ask yourself, do these 2 big sets of things that you believe and that you care about, what you think the meaning of work is, what you think the purpose of your life is, do they complement each other? Do they clash? Does one drive the other? What are the interactions between these? And Burnett and Evans say that in their own classes that they've been teaching for these 15 years, asking that question about coherence, complementarity, conflict between what we believe about work and what we believe about life, meaning, purpose of these, has generated some of the most profound insights for their students as they reflected, which many people don't actually sit down and do. On these questions, what matters to us, what do we think work is all about. Week 3, we will continue with Burnett and Evans. I noticed that in the guide, the study guide that I posted online, there's actually a small error in this place. It says, having read Burnett and Evans chapter 2, no, the question is, or the assignment is for you to actually read chapter 3 for the 3rd week. And then to do a sort of a good times journal exercise in which you will ask yourself, broadly speaking, sorry, as you look at the things that you do during your average day, which of those things energize you? Which of those things really engage you? And then even, do you find yourself experiencing what Mihai Csikszentmihalyi calls the experience of flow in particular areas of your life? And out of that, you'll get a sense of the kind of things that you want to invest yourself in to have a lifetime of work and activity that really does energize you, that really does engage you, that allow you to that experience of flow in which we really do the best work that we get to do. Going on to week 4, I love the work that we're going to do in week 4. It is something that Burnett and Evans calls Odyssey maps. It's kind of writing scenarios for your next 5 years. When I do this kind of work in very limited time settings, so say a 50-minute workshop at a church or at a high school, I really try and focus on this particular exercise because it just allows us to be creative about our futures, to be imaginative, to allow our genuine desires to sort of flop out onto the table in front of us, and most significantly through this exercise to identify the questions that we need to be asking ourselves and others, to identify what additional skills do we need to gain, what really important decisions do we need to make, who do we need to meet with to ask the questions that we need to be asking about the next 5 years of our lives. And so, Odyssey maps, we'll be talking about those a lot more in the weeks ahead, but that's what we'll be playing with in week 4, and I'm really looking forward to us having those conversations. So week 5, we will finish up with Burnett and Evans on the one hand, and we'll start on Smith on the other hand. So this is going to be probably your heaviest reading week, and so if you can sort of get ahead of the curve a little bit in the weeks before week 5, you're going to find that helpful. So you are going to conclude Burnett and Evans. You're going to read chapters 4 and 5. You're going to start with Smith. You're going to read the preface, chapters 1 and 2. For week 5, and you're going to start seeing these two books and their big ideas, their big suggestions collide or interact or juxtapose with one another. You're also going to have to do at least one prototype conversation. Now, again, you're going to have to read Evans and Burnett to really come to grips with what they mean by prototype conversations. We will talk about that again in videos in this course. You can also call them life design interviews. I remember several years ago driving up from Los Angeles, where I lived at the time, to San Francisco for work during my elder daughter's, Tala's, I think spring break. And she was thinking about what she was going to do after college. I think this was her junior year. Could have been, come to think of it, could have been the fall of her senior year. But Dave Evans works in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, Stanford, but lives in Santa Cruz, which is just a little to the south along the coast of California. And I dropped Tala off for a couple of days while I did work in San Francisco to stay with Dave and his wife, and to have a big conversation about life planning, basically drawing on all the wisdom that he's been building up over the years teaching this course at Stanford. And Tala came away from those conversations with Dave Evans saying that this notion of prototype conversations is the single most powerful tool that she has learned for life planning. And when Dave's book came out, I think September of 2016, I immediately bought each of my daughters a copy, and Tala reread it. We talked about it again, and she's reaffirmed this is, for her, in her experience, the most powerful tool that she has learned from anyone in terms of life design, life planning, vocational wayfinding, this tool of prototype conversations. And you're going to have at least one of these during week 5, around week 5 of this module of this course. And so week 5 is going to kind of be the crunch for all of you, whether you're taking this for credit or not. And so you wanna keep that in mind as you plan for these weeks ahead, because you're going to do all that reading, finish up Burnett and Evans, start up with Smith, and you're going to have scheduled an interview, and I would suggest that you think of at least an hour interview with somebody who can help you answer some of the questions that are going to come up during your Odyssey map exercise in the preceding week. Then in the last week of this module, week 6, we're going to finish up. I'm going to ask you to read chapters 3, 4, and 7 of Smith. You'll notice that it's not required for you to read the whole of the book. We're going to do the intro, chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7. So 5 and 6 are optional. They're not required reading. And this is where we're going to ask the big question about the role of love in our lives, the things that we really care about. You know, one of my favorite, perhaps the favorite business book I've ever read is, actually I'm going to grab it from my bookshelf and I can sort of wave it. It's a book called The Moment of Clarity. It's written by two Danish business consultants, Christian Madsbjerg and Mikkel Rasmussen. And they are, or at least Christian Madsbjerg is actually a philosopher trained in the philosophical tradition of Martin Heidegger, phenomenological philosopher. And I love one of the things that they say early in this book, where they say that when we think about what it means to be human, we frequently misunderstand our humanity by focusing on our capacity for rational thought. This is an ancient misconception of what it means to be human, that to be human is to be rational, to be reasonable, to think reasonably. I've got to say, you know, don't knock rationality, don't knock thinking, but it's not really what lies at the heart of what it means to be human. And Madsbjerg and Rasmussen say that at the core of being human is our capacity to care, to actually give a damn about things, our capacity really to love. And in the final week of this module, we're going to ask ourselves about that. And then we're going to read Smith to inform our thinking, and then we're going to critically engage with Burnett and Evans in terms of our reading of Smith. So yeah, that's these first 6 weeks, or at least for those of you who are only doing this module, that's these 6 weeks. A little bit of a preview in module 2 for this course. We will basically work through very similar content, but at a significantly deepened level. I will, in a video introduction to that module, talk about the 2 books that everybody will be reading, and wow, they're astounding. They really build on what we're learning from Smith and from Burnett and Evans during this module. But they deepen stuff. We learn new tools that just take us along a little further yet in terms of the practical toolkit for vocational wayfinding. They also deepen our thinking and our imagining about what vocational wayfinding is like. An awesome book written by a poet about the journey of work and the connection between work and identity, who we become as we work in that crucible of the workplace, and as it shapes and churns our identity, sharpening who we are. For those of you who are doing for credit, again, an amazing 5th book that we will do about mentoring people during emerging adulthood, and specifically as they ask the big questions of life and begin to identify worthy dreams to shape their own vocational wayfinding. Got to apologize very briefly at the conclusion of this video. You don't have the full syllabus for this course directly available through the Google Classroom yet. If you were to go online to the Institute for Christian Studies website, you would find in the course description that's available online a link to a syllabus. That syllabus is actually the syllabus for last term, so for the fall of 2016. And while it is roughly accurate, it is inaccurate in 1 or 2 details. Now, for those of you who are not taking the course for credit, that just doesn't make any difference, because this study guide gives you everything that you need But for those of you who are taking the course for credit, that syllabus is actually a little bit misguided, and I'm working right now to get an updated syllabus. Among other things, I flipped the order in which we work with Evanson, Burnett and Smith. We used to start with Smith and then go on to Evanson, Burnett, but now we're starting with Evanson, Burnett. We continue on to Smith. But apologies yet, and that will be up. Never fear, because the actual assignments that those of you who are taking the course for credit have to do in addition to the work that's in the study guide will also appear in the Google Classroom as separate assignments in good time. And so nobody's in trouble yet, but I have to apologize for the syllabus not being appropriately linked yet in the Google Classroom. I think that's kind of it. As you read through the study guide and think about what you need to do, I'm going to guess that you are going to have questions. And if you do have questions, just post them in the comment section to the Google assignment or announcement where I post this particular video. Hey, it's going to be fun working with you. I look forward to it. This is Gideon Strauss. This is Vocational Wayfinding at the Institute for Christian Studies. First module, first 6 weeks during the winter of 2017. Enjoy.